ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهديه الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أما بعد, the topic is من هم العلماء, or who are the ulama, who are the people of knowledge, who are the scholars of the deen. The question each and every one of us are in so much in need of, because the ulama, from the name, they are hamalatul ilm, they are those who carry the ilm, they are those who carry the knowledge. And the ilm that we're talking about is قال الله, قال رسوله, قال الصحابة, is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, what the Sahaba radiallahu anhum said. So it's basically the wahi from Allah, the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these ulama, they are warathatul anbiya, they are the inheritors of the prophets. And the prophets alayhim salam, as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لم يورثوا درهما ولا دينارا وإنما ورثوا علما. They did not inherit, or they did not give after them dirham or dinar, money or so, but they left behind them ilm, knowledge. So this is what the ulama, they took from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they took from one generation to the other. The subject is a very detailed one. It has so many different aspects to it. It might have some issues of sensitivity to some, maybe, because no one would have the ability, I'm talking about myself, to mention the names of all of the ulama on the earth today, because each person is limited to what he knows. So at the end, inshallah ta'ala, we'll mention names, right? But the names, what is meant by the names is not to divide the Muslims or to make groups or things of that nature. But this is amana, this is a trust that we have to make sure that we know our ulama, and each one according to the best of his capability. And again, it depends from one place to the other. And it doesn't mean that when we mention name that the ilm is only inherited or exclusive to these individuals only. Of course not. And it doesn't mean that a person can gain the knowledge from, for example, students of knowledge, which is definitely a good thing. But when we talk about the kibar of the ulama and those who are the ones that the ummah should follow and should listen to, this is something else. This is another level, especially at the times of fitan that we live in. And we need to make sure that we follow the ilm in every step we take. And the ulama are the ones that are between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the day of judgment. Because the people are in need of the ilm, as Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he said, more than they need al-ta'am al-sharab, the food and the drink. Because this is the life of their hearts, this is their everlasting joy, which is to enter the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is to get to know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from them. And as we know, of course, there's no one has the authority to gather the ummah to be followers of one person. As Shaykh Ibrahim rahimahullah, he mentioned this very clearly. ليس لأحد من الأمة أن ينصب عالما. It is not for anyone in this ummah to appoint a alim that everybody should be behind that one particular person like this and make the ummah upon such a thing, except the Prophet ﷺ. He's the only one ﷺ that people should follow unconditionally. And other than the Prophet ﷺ, people are bound to make mistakes. But the Muslim, he has to have the people of knowledge in which he would follow them, to make sure that he's following the way the Prophet ﷺ. Again, it's a detailed subject. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy, but I would like to start by a statement by Imam Ahmad rahimahullah that many probably heard it before. And Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, one of the ulama in Al-Basra, and he's from the Ruwat al-Hadith, and Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, he narrated from him many ahadith, Musaddad ibn Musarbal. He sent to Imam Ahmad rahimahullah asking him about what is the sunnah in what's happening of the fitan in Al-Basra, with the fitan that rose, and the people talking about the fitan of Khalq al-Quran, that the Quran is a creation of Allah, and the other fitan. So he sent to him to send him back what is the truth in the midst of all of these fitan. So when Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, the letter came to him, as it's mentioned in the book of Tabaqat al-Hanabila, he wept, rahimahullah, he wept, right? And he wept and he said something in the effect of which, that we reached a state where the people are not able to know what the sunnah is, what the truth is in the midst of the fitan. And this is something that we can relate to. Then he wrote to him a very lengthy letter, which is basically something that he mentioned also in his book Usul al-Sunnah, his aqidah basically, the whole matters, aspects of aqidah. But in the beginning, he mentioned a few sentences that the ulama always relate. And he said, Alhamdulillah, this is the beginning of what he said to him. Alhamdulillah alladhi ja'ala fi kulli zamanin fatratan min al-rusul baqaya min ahli al-ilm. He's saying, Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that made in every zaman, in every time, fatra min al-rusul, when there is no, the message is not strong, the message of the messengers. And of course, once the Prophet ﷺ is sent, that's the final message and the final messenger of Allah. And the deen is saved and completed till the day of judgment. There's no need for another messenger to come, no messenger to come. So the message will be still alive and strong till the day of judgment, not necessarily with every person, not necessarily every part of the world, but this is what he says, that this is by the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that there will be always baqaya min ahli al-ilm. Baqaya, left over from the people of knowledge at any time, even in the weakest time where the ummah is facing. And we have to have this in ourselves, that the weakest time where the ummah is in is not about physical weaknesses, right, only. It's about the weaknesses when it comes to matters of guidance, when it comes to al-huda, guidance. If there's no guidance to the ummah, this is the weakest position that the ummah is in. And the people that are in need of al-huda, that are in need of guidance, more than they are in need of al-nasr wal-dhuhur. As Shaykh Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he said that the ummah is more in need of the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than they are in need of victory and superiority. Because the victory and superiority comes after guidance. And most of the people, they seek superiority or strength, physical strength. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us guidance. The purpose of our life is not to be established on earth. The purpose of life is to establish the ubudiyyah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a person might live all of his life and he did not see any strength physically to the ummah and so on, and he is not failing or anything if he is guided and if he is on the truth. And this is also what Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, when someone asked him, أَلَا تَرَى كَيْفَ ظَهَرَ الْبَاطِلُ عَلَى الْحَقِّ? Don't you see how the batil, the falsehood is ظاهر, that means it's apparent, it's superiority over the truth? He said, and he corrected that person, he said, this is not true. He said, أَلَا تَرَى قُلُوبَنَا عَلَى الْحَقِّ? Don't you see that our heart's on the truth? If our heart's on the truth, then the batil is not superior. Right? So the criteria is, are the hearts on the truth or not? Are we guided on the truth or not? If we are on the truth, if our heart's on the truth, we are guided on the truth, that means we are superior at all times. وَلَا تَهِنُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ إِن كُنْتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do not be in despair, do not grieve, do not be sad. When you are the a'lawn, when you are the higher ones, when you are the superior ones, in kuntum mu'minun, if you are believers. So this is the criteria, if you are believers. Times of weaknesses, times of strength, this is by the qadr of Allah. تِلْكَ الْأَيَامُ نُدَاوِلُهَا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ. This is how the days are to the people. Sometimes they're high, sometimes they're low. So, but the most important thing is matters of guidance. So he said to him, Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that made in every time, even in times of weaknesses when the message is not there much to the people, baqaya min ahli al-ilm. Still some left from the people of Ahl al-ilm, the people of the knowledge. Ahl al-ilm, the people of knowledge. Ahl is something that means they are the people of it. They're not just having some ilm. No, they are the people of knowledge. They are the ones that occupied with the ilm at all of their times. They had this tabattul to the ilm. Tabattul is when a person is munqati' an kulli shay'in illa ma tabattala lah. When the person is away from anything except what he's making tabattul in. Tabattul, it's mentioned in the Quran, وَتَبَتَّلْ إِلَيْهِ تَبْتِيلًا in the ibadah. When the person is away from anything except what he is busy with. So the ulama, they are busy with the ilm day and night, all of their life and so on. So this is by the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu, and I keep on taking away the sentence, but inshallah ta'ala we'll finish it inshallah ta'ala. Salman al-Farisi radiallahu anhu, he said also a very important statement, and this is how they learned from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, the importance of ilm and knowledge. He said, لا يزال الناس بخير لا يزال الناس بخير ما أخذ أولهم عن آخرهم فإذا مات آخرهم قبل أن يأخذ أولهم هلكوا. He said the people will continue to be good as long as the last of them would take from the first of them. Right? So, meaning that in every generation, the generations they give to one another the lead. Right? You have one generation is giving this ilm to the next generation. This is Ibn Abdul Barr, he mentioned also that one of the purpose of seeking knowledge is that you would make sure that this knowledge is secured to the next generation. That you become a mean to preserve this deen. When you seek knowledge, so that the knowledge is not cut off or terminated by this generation or the previous generation in this part of the world, for example. And many parts of the world where the ilm was going from one generation to the other, and then because of the lack of the importance and the deviation and so on, it's cut off, right? Whereas the Andalus, for example, whereas other parts of the world where there used to be ilm and knowledge and people of knowledge and people of ibadah and so on, and then there is no more. Something happened there. So part of the duty of those who are living in a place, in any locality, that they need to make sure that the ilm is alive. The ilm is alive, and that's why they would seek it, and they would make sure that they learn it to others, so that, as he said, radiallahu anh, people will continue to be good as long as the one, for example, from a previous generation, the one that is very old in age, right? He would not die alim. He would not die till his knowledge is passed to the first among them. Right? And then therefore, those who have the knowledge from this alim, they will be steadfast on it, and then they would keep on giving it to the next generations and so on. But if the one, he said, if those who are older, they die before they convey the message to the younger ones, then they will be perished and destroyed. Right? So this is a lineage. Al-ilm is nasab bayna ahli. That means ahli al-ilm, they are the people as if they are a family, and there's lineage between them. Right? From one alim to the other, to the second, and so on. And this is how the books of Aqidah, of Salaf al-Salih, they used to have their books of Aqidah like this. This is the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Those who had it, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, and they would mention the Tabi'een, and Tabi'een, the Imma of this Ummah. They would mention them by name because this is a lineage. Again, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to follow الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ, those who follow them with goodness. So there will always be a group of the people of knowledge, as he said, يَدْعُونَ مَنْ ضَلَّ إِلَى الْهُدَى. See, these are the characteristics, right? Because of the time. They call يَدْعُونَ مَنْ ضَلَّ إِلَى الْهُدَى. They call those who deviated to guidance. So the people of knowledge, they call to guidance. And the guidance is not what sounds like guidance. The guidance is قال الله, قال رسوله, قال الصحابة. The deen that was at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they don't change over time. They don't change because the environment that they're in or the pressure they're under and so on. The deen is the deen that was present at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and this is the aman. So يدعون من ضل إلى الهدى ويصبرون منهم على الأذى. So they call those who are deviated to the guidance. They don't leave them, they call them. And they have patience. When it comes to calling them to guidance, they would be patient when harm afflicts them. They would have patience when they're calling those who are deviated. They don't leave them, but they call them and they have patience and they're steadfast on this guidance. يُحْيُونَ بِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ الْمَوْتَى. They make alive the dead by the book of Allah. And he means by this, of course, the mawta, the dead, those who their hearts are dead, away from guidance. Dalal is maut. Dalal is death. Deviation is death to the heart. And the life of the heart, which is mentioned in the Quran, in many verses in the Quran, the life of the heart is the wahy, is the revelation from Allah. And who are the ones that would carry this wahy? The ulama. And that's why this is a very obvious thing for a person to know the ulama. The ulama, those carriers of wahy. They talk with the wahy. They talk with the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. They don't just talk, nice talks, right? And the ulama, they wrote beautiful things about this. Like one of which, Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, he has a beautiful, it's small in numbers of pages, but it's great in meanings. His Risala of Fadl Ilm al-Salaf ala Ilm al-Khalaf. The virtue of the knowledge of a Salaf, the virtue of the knowledge of the early generations of Islam over Ilm al-Khalaf, over the knowledge of those who came later. And he compared, and he was over 700 years ago, right? And he's comparing the words of the A'imma of the Deen, like at the time of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and Sufyan al-Thawri and the others and so on, how their words were so much less than those who came after them. And comparing of what is the virtue of this and that. So this is a book definitely to be reflected upon, to see how the people of knowledge and the real ones, because they are carrying this wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they give life to those who are dead. The life is the wahy from Allah, when the hearts become life again with the wahy. When people would follow the revelation from Allah and not just follow religion because it's culture or because whatever they hear and so on. So yuhyuna bi kitabillahi al-mawta, they give life by the will of Allah, by the book of Allah, to those who are dead. وَيُبَصِّرُونَ بِنُورِ اللَّهِ أَهْلَ الْعَمَى, and they give sight by the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the people of blindness. Right? People, when they're again, either they're blind or they have blindness, they say legally blind. Right? People are levels in blindness. Some of them are totally blind, they can't see anything. Some people they see, but it's not very clear. And some people are very sharp in seeing things. Right? And this is how a person's life also, according to how much of the wahy and the knowledge that he has, or following the people of knowledge. So they give light to the people to be able to see what's ahead of them, what every step they take. And when it comes to things when it's not clear, is one of the Tabi'in, when he said, even one of the Sahaba, when fitan comes, I think it's Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu, when the fitan comes, people as if they are in a junction, and there's a storm comes. And the storm makes things not clear. And they either have to take this way or that way. And one, the end of it is their destruction, and one, it's going to be their salvation or goodness. But now it's not clear which one to take. Right? Because they have no guidance, it's dark, it's not clear. So this is where the benefit of the ilm. You know, some people, they would stop and wait till the storm goes away. And that's why, which is one of the benefits, I'm going ahead here, not being very organized of what I'm saying, but the people of knowledge, the people of ilm, إذا سكتوا فالواجب على غيرهم أن يسكتوا. If the alim is not saying anything, that means if he's a true alim, he's quiet for a reason. So that means also the people, they should follow that and they should be quiet. That means they should not do anything. What if it's like this? Right? Then it's the wise thing is to wait. Is to wait till the storm goes away so that the matter becomes clear where to go. For example, right? So the wise person in people's journey, and this is a Sahabi, he said this, the wise person, the one that has the knowledge, is the one that would have this ta'anni, and to wait and not to rush so that things will be clear. Otherwise, it might be those who took the right path, but they didn't know, they just took it by chance like this. They would be ahead of those who would go later, right? But what if they didn't? So definitely, as-salamatu la ya'diluha shay. As a principle in our deen, that as-salama, to be safe, not physically safe, because that not necessarily is the good thing, but to be safe, to save one's religion, nothing is the like of it. So when it's harmful or benefiting matters, one of the ways, one of the murajjihat, one of the ways that the ulama, they say to which decision should you make. something that has benefit and harm at the same time. And the benefits are so much and the harm is less. Should I take this or should I take something that doesn't have any harm whatsoever? Definitely take what is not harm whatsoever. Because السلامة لا يعدلها شيء. So things of that nature. So they give light by the will of Allah, by the light of Allah, which is the wahy from Allah, to the people of blindness. And no human being would say that he's blind and he can't see what is right and what is wrong. As we see our state, everybody talks and we all think that we know what's happening and what's going on and things like this. But really we have to put our trust in the deen of in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the wahy from Allah, that Allah knows best. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah knows best and you do not know. And who are the most people that know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are the people of knowledge. And there's no holiness for anyone, but they know more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and about the way of Allah and about the deen of Allah more than others, and that's why they give this light to the people by the will of Allah. يقول فكم من قتيل لإبليس قد أحيوا. How many qatil, how many those who Iblis killed them, they give him life. Iblis kills people, kills their hearts, and they follow him, whether it's in deviation, innovations in the deen, sins and so on. So how many there are people already been, ضحية, or they been attacked by shaitan, and they give them life, meaning with the ilm that they have, so they saved them from Iblis, from shaitan. وَكَمْ مِنْ ضَالٍ تَائِهٍ قَدْ هَدَوْا. And how many ضال, how many deviant, confused, wandering in the land, they guided him. فَمَا أَحْسَنَ أَثَرُهُمْ عَلَى النَّاسِ. The people of knowledge, the true people of knowledge, how beautiful it is, their effect on the people. Right? Because if this is what the people of knowledge are supposed to do, giving life to the people by the will of Allah, which is again giving them the wahy, giving them the light for them to see, which is the wahy, guiding them from deviation. A person might be already dead by shaitan and he's given life again. All of this by the ilm. And guidance is in the hands of Allah. So they do the job of the messengers of Allah when they convey the message. So فَمَا أَحْسَنَ أَثَرُهُمْ عَلَى النَّاسِ. How beautiful is their effect on the people. وَأَقْبَحْ أَثَرُ النَّاسِ عَلَيْهِمْ. And how bad is the effect of the people on them. The true alim, as far as, of course, he gets rewards on people and he's benefiting the people, yes, and he deals with the people with kindness and so on. But he benefits the people and they harm him. Right? Because the alim, the more the person excel in knowledge, the more he is in no need of people. Right? And the more people will be in need of him. And that's the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on earth. And this is the honor of ilm. The more the person excel in knowledge, he does not need people. People are more in need of him. And he does not need them. So the more, and this is many statements of the ulama like this, the alim would tend to be away. Of course, not away from the people that he does not bring the benefit to them. Of course, he teach them and so on. But this is how it is because of the ilm that he has in himself. The alim is never bored. He's never miserable. Because if he's truly carrying the wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what misery in this? So this is what he says. وَأَقْبَحْ أَثَرُ النَّاسِ عَلَيْهِمْ. And the people, they harm them, they cause harm to them, they abuse them, whatever there is. ينفون عن كتاب الله تحريف الغالي. The people of knowledge, they yanfun, they deny, they stay away, or they protect the book of Allah from the tahrif, from the change of those who are extreme. And he mentioned al-ghalin with the book of Allah because usually the ghulu or the extremism, rarely it comes from someone claiming to follow the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Right? Of course, we have to follow the Quran and the Sunnah from the understanding of the Salaf, Sahaba, Tabi'een, and so on. But usually it's because of the extremism, they get it only from the Quran, because the Quran is more general, وَحَمَّلْ أَوْجُهُ, and can mean many things. And this is how the Khawarij, they didn't become deviant and extremes because they followed the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but rather because they were following the Quran without ilm, without knowledge. And they became extreme. They read ayat about the wa'id from Allah, the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the sinners and so on. That's it. He's in the hellfire forever. So making takfir of others and so on. And looking at the Quran with one eye only, totally blind or whatever. not following, and the munadhara and the debate between them and Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, which we mentioned before, it's an amazing one of how they were so much deviated, thinking that they were guided. So the people of knowledge, they protect the book of Allah from the altering of those who are extreme by explaining the Quran. And we talked before about the Quran has been explained thoroughly by the Prophet ﷺ, and the Sahaba took it from the Prophet ﷺ, and we mentioned that, and these are principles in our deen so that we protect ourselves from deviation. وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ مَا نُزِلَ إِلَيْهِمْ. We brought to you, O Muhammad ﷺ, a dhikr, so that you make clear, that's the tafsir, you make clear to the people what has been revealed to them. So the Prophet ﷺ did not convey the words of the Quran only, he conveyed the words of it and the explanation of it, and the ma'na of it, and the meanings of it, which is basically the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and more. So, ينفون عن كتاب الله تحريف الغالين وانتحال المبطلين. They protect the deen of Allah from the mubtilin, those who comes from al-batil, those who are in falsehood, those who are liars, those who change things. Intihal is when they put on themselves the masks of people of knowledge, or they deceive people basically, when they claim to be one thing when they're not, when they basically by changing the deen of Allah with batil, with falsehood. وَتَأْوِيلِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. And they protect also the deen of Allah from the ta'wil, from the alteration or the changing of the meaning that is done by the ignorant ones. So he mentioned al-mubtilin wal-jahilin, the two types of deviation that is mentioned in Surah Al-Fatiha. غَيْرِ الْمَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. This is when it comes to, yes, the Jews and the Christians, one know the truth and they didn't apply it, one did know the truth and they were deviated, but also from among the ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, since people will imitate their ways with the level of al-Islam, those who know the truth and they don't follow it, they resemble al-maghdubi alayhim, right? They are mubtilin. And those who do not know the truth, right, and they would deviate as a result of this, that's why they would innovate in the religion and so on, they are jahili. So the people of knowledge, their job is to protect the deen by the will of Allah from these two groups, from the ones that know the truth and they don't follow it, and from the ones that ignorantly following deviation because they don't know the truth. So they would educate them, and the other ones they would advise them, they would try to give them guidance and warn the ummah from them, and so on and so forth. وانتحال المبطلين وتأويل الجاهلين الذين عقدوا ألوية البدع. Those deviant ones, those who عقدوا, that means they made the knot of the flags of the bid'ah. They rose the flag of the bid'ah or the innovation in the deen, basically following other than the way of the Prophet ﷺ. This is their way. وأطلقوا عقال الفتنة, and they let loose the rope of the fitna, meaning their life is to just follow the fitan and to make the fitan spread, and the tribulations and the trials to the ummah and so on. فهم مختلفون في الكتاب مخالفون للكتاب مجمعون على مفارقة الكتاب. They are مختلفون في الكتاب. They differ among each other when it comes to the book of Allah. They are against the book of Allah, and they are on consensus that they stayed away from the book of Allah. Because if they hold fast to the book of Allah, they won't be like this. Because they would follow also the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. يقولون على الله وفي الله وفي كتاب الله بغير علم. They speak about Allah, and they speak in the subject of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in the book of Allah without knowledge. يتكلمون بالمتشابه من الكلام. They speak with the mutashabih, the words that can mean more than one thing, to get their way across with whatever meaning they want, not with the clear kalam, not with the clear direct kalam al-muhkam, which is matters of clarity in the words. وَيَخْدَعُونَ جُهَّالَ النَّاسِ بِمَا يُشَبِّهُونَ عَلَيْهِمْ. And they deceive the ignorant among the people with what they would make them be deceived and following. يقول فنعوذ بالله من فتن المضلين. So we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the fitan of those who are deviated. And then he continued with what he wanted to tell him. So this is basically, he asked the alim, and the alim responded, and the people of knowledge are the means for the people to be able to see what is right and what is wrong. And if we talk about that virtue, and we talked about that before, there's so many in the ayat of the Quran, in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, the virtues of the people of knowledge. And it's enough that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them witness over the kalimat al-tawheed, شهد الله أنه لا إله إلا هو والملائكة وأولو العلم قائما بالقسط. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala witnessed that there is no one worthy of worship except Him, and the angels witness, and the people of knowledge witness. So there is nothing more virtue than this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the people of knowledge witness to أجل مشهود عليه, the most noble thing to be witnessing over, which is La ilaha illallah. And that's why we should first have in ourselves that we are in need of it, and if we in need of the people of knowledge, then we would realize the magnitude of the fitna that we're in. Then we'd realize it, because when we don't see the abundance of the people of knowledge, that's the fitna. When the person is not able to see what is right and what is wrong. And what people listen to every day, do they listen to the people of knowledge if they listen to what's happening in the world? No, they're listening to disbelievers, people of no knowledge, and they're giving status to speak about matters of the ummah, right? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said that this is one of the signs of the hour, that those who الرجل التافه يتكلم في أمر العامة, as the Prophet ﷺ said about the hour, one of the signs of the hour, وينطق الرويبضة, that الرويبضة will speak. And he was asked والسلام, who are this رويبضة? He said الرجل التافه يتكلم في أمر العامة. الرجل التافه, التافه means the man that is no weight to him whatsoever. He has nothing whatsoever, and he would speak about the ummah and the benefit of the ummah and so on. So this is one of the signs of the hour. So we have to be careful and to protect our hearings and our sight and our hearts from the dalal and from the deviation, and to make sure that we need to know who are the ones that we refer to in our difficult matters, what faces the ummah. And that's why when you see young people being deviated by they see or they hear on the internet and so on, whether it's in ghulu, extremism, and one way or the other, is because of this problem. They don't go to the ulama, they've not been raised to go to the people of knowledge and to know the people of knowledge, and so on and so forth. There are many things, but to also we said the book of فضل علم السلف علم الخلف by Ibn Rajab rahimahullah, and also the book of جامع بيان العلم وفضله Ibn Abd al-Barr. He has a chapter there that he talks about من يستحق أن يكون أو يطلق عليه عالما. Who's the one that deserves to be called the alim? Who's the one that deserves to be called a faqih? And so on, because it's not fawda, it's not chaos, it's a matter, a very serious matter. And the ulama talked about this, the level of knowledge, and we talked about that before, and this is not meant by talking about this, but he mentioned in the book also this athar al ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, that he said, إن الشياطين قالوا لإبليس, that the shayateen, they said to Iblis, their father, ما لنا نراك تفرح بموت العالم ما لا تفرح بموت العابد. They said to their Iblis, their father, the big shaitan, why do we see you happy when the alim dies, and we don't see you as happy when a abid, when a worshipper dies? So he said, انطلقوا فانطلقوا إلى عابد قائم يصلي. So he said, come with me, he'll teach them. And they went then to a abid, to someone that is a worshipper. And being a abid is not an easy thing. Someone that is in constant ibadah, too much. I mean, someone that had defeated his own desire and weakness and so on. And the ibadah is a good thing, but it needs ilm with it. So someone that was abid and he was standing making salah. So they said to him, these shayateen, إِنَّا نُرِيدُ أَن نَسْأَلَكَ فَانصَرَفْ. فقال له إبليس هل يقدر ربك أن يجعل الدنيا في جوف بيضة. They said to him, I want to ask you something. Can your Lord make the whole dunya, the whole world, inside of an egg? He said, لا. قال لا. He said, no. So the Iblis said to his people, أترون كفر في ساعته. Don't you see that he became a kafir just in that instant? because he said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not capable of such a thing. ثم جاء إلى عالم في حلقة يضاحك أصحابه ويحدثهم. Then they went to a alim sitting with his people, and he's laughing with them and talking to them. فقال إن نريد أن نسألك. فقال said, they said we want to ask you, and he said ask. فقال هل يقدر ربك أن يجعل الدنيا في جوف بيضة؟ قال نعم. They asked, can Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the whole world inside of an egg? He said yes. قالوا وكيف? They said, how can that be? He said, يقول لذلك كن فيكون. He said, he would say to this kun, be, and it will be. قال إبليس أترون ذلك لا يعدو نفسه وهذا يفسد علي عالما كثيرا. He said, did you see how this is? And he ruins so much people, he ruins them for me, for shaitan. Why? Because he gives them the tools of knowledge to protect themselves from the ways of shaitan. And the ways of shaitan to whisper to the people and to deceive them and so on. Regardless of what the example, the details of it. But the point here is, which is true, and many of the Salaf al-Salih, they said this, that the death of the alim, the shaitan is so happy, more than the death of a abid, of course. And that's why 100 ubbad or 1,000 abid is easier for the shaitan than one alim. Because the alim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making means for the people to be guided. And that's why loving the ulama is deen. To love the people of knowledge is our deen. As Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he said this. He said, Mahabbatul ulama deenun yudanu bih. Mahabbatul ulama deenun yudanu bih. He said that the love of the ulama is deen. You draw yourself closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the love of the people of knowledge. Even if a person doesn't know much of the people of knowledge, he still loves the people of knowledge, those who he reads their characteristics in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. If you know that they carry this knowledge from the deen of Islam, so if he hates them, this is a sign that he's hating the deen because of what they carry. It's not about their personalities or their individuality, or it's not, again, no holiness to anyone, it's about the ilm that they carry. And Ibn Rajab, in this book of Fadl Ilm al-Salaf ala Ilm al-Khalaf, and I won't take too much of the time, inshallah ta'ala, he said that one of the things that he said, it's not about too much talking that a person would know the alim. And he said, وَقَدْ ابْتُلِينَ بِجَهَلَةٍ مِّنَ النَّاسِ يَعْتَقِدُونَ فِي بَعْضِ مَنْ تَوَسَّعَ فِي الْقَوْلِ مِنَ الْمُتَأَخِّرِينَ أَنَّهُ أَعْلَمُ مِمَّنْ تَقَدَّمَ. He said, we have been tested by some of the ignorant of the people, those who think that those who talk so much from the later generations, they have more knowledge than those who are in the early generations, because they have so much eloquency in speech and they can speak and so on. And this is ignorance, of course. And he mentioned some of the names of the early generations of Islam, Al-Tawri, Al-Awza'i, Al-Layth, Ibn Sa'ad, Ibn al-Mubarak, and so on. يقول فإن هؤلاء كلهم أقل كلاما ممن جاء بعدهم. They were less in speech and thought than those who came after them. And this is not necessarily that they are less or more. Of course, those who are earlier then are definitely better. And he mentioned the author from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, which is true in our times, when he said, إِنَّكُمْ فِي زَمَانٍ كَثِيرٌ عُلَمَاءُ. He said to the people, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was saying to the tabi'een, you are in a time where the ulama are in abundance. قَلِيلٌ خُطَبَاءُ. Less those who give khutbahs, the khutbah, eloquency in speech and so on, less, but more of the ulama. وَسَيَأْتِي عَلى النَّاسِ زَمَانٍ. And a time would come, right, where the people will be قَلِيلٌ عُلَمَاءُ أو قَلِيلٌ عُلَمَاءُ كَثِيرٌ خُطَبَاءُ. That the time will come when the ulama are so much less, but the khutaba are so many, right? So this is not a good sign. That means this is the fitan, right? Because what happens, people will be deceived. If someone speaks nice, he's the alim to them, so they would follow him, and he might lead them astray. So it's important to know that the fitan needs for the person to make sure that he follow the people of knowledge. And the author that always the ulama, they mention, and this is also from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, وَلَا يَزَالُ النَّاسُ بِخَيْرٍ مَنْ أَخَذُوا الْعِلْمَ عَنْ أَكَابِرِهِمْ وَعَنْ أُمَنَائِهِمْ وَعَنْ عُلَمَائِهِمْ. The people will continue to be good as long as they take the ilm from their akabir, from their elders. And the ulama talked about al-asagir, the younger ones, not necessarily the younger ones in age. But some say the asagir here, the people of bid'ah, innovations. Even if they are very old and they look very wise and so on, he is still small if he is not following the way of the Prophet ﷺ. But also among the people of the truth, and the ulama mentioned this, as Ibn Qutaybah rahimahullah, he said that still within the people of Ahl Sunnah, within the people of the truth, the one that is old in age, right, and he is from the ulama of the truth, he is the one to take from him more, right? Again, we're not talking about the age only situation here. We're talking about there's akabir and there's asagir. There's elder ones and there's younger ones. The asagir ones, again, a person might be young and he's a very knowledgeable person for people to learn from him. And when we're talking about learning, again, we said that people should learn from the people of knowledge and so on. When, for example, teaching books of ilm and so on, as long as these people, they follow the ulama. But when we're talking about the matters that would affect the ummah, whether a person should do this or should do that, or the things that affects the ummah, then this is definitely to kibar al-ulama, the fatawa and so on and so forth. And to also to try to get to know what they're saying and what guidance that they're saying. Whatever they say, we follow. Whatever they don't say, we wait. We don't have to be indulged in all kinds of things of that nature. So, again, the issue of the akabir, even so, whenever within the people of Ahl Sunnah, you have different ages, and if they're all, mashallah, on the truth, of course, some are more knowledgeable than the others. But he said one of the criteria, Ibn Qutaybah, he said, لا يزال الناس بخير ما كان علماؤهم المشايخ ولم يكن علماؤهم الأحداث. The people will continue to be good as long as their ulama are the mashayikh, the old in age, and not the younger ones. This is in general, right? Imam Malik rahimahullah, he sat on the fatwa chair or so when he was 21 years old, right? So he's very young, and he did not sit to give fatwa to the people, as he said, till he was given the tazkiyah. And this is another thing, the ulama, 70 of the people of knowledge, they are the right. Imam Malik rahimahullah, he sat on the fatwa chair or so when he was 21 years old, right? So he's very young, and he did not sit to give fatwa to the people, as he said, till he was given the tazkiyah. And this is another thing, the ulama, 70 of the people of knowledge, they are the ones that told him to do this. So he did not do it on his own, which is another thing. A person should not speak in the deen from his own. He should be told to speak, and not to speak on his own, from his own. Unless he's in a situation, he's, we're not talking about enjoining good and forbidding evil and giving da'wah and reminding the people. This is definitely for everybody that knows anything. But for a person to put himself in a position to be educating the people the deen, and to be in the position of teaching the deen and so on, he has to be told to do this and not to do it on his own. Because this is an aman. So he says here that people will still be good as long as their ulama are those who are elder. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ عُلَمَاءُهُمُ الْأَحْدَاثِ. And then he mentioned the wisdom behind this. He said, لِأَنَّ الشَّيْخَ قَدْ زَالَتْ عَنْهُ مُتْعَةُ الشَّبَابِ. The shaykh, the older one in age, the joy of being young is gone from him. وَحِدَّتُ. And the hidda is the when a person gets angry quickly. When a person is not angry, when a person is rushing into things, this is more in the youth. When a person is youth, he's not more brave, but he's more in haste, right? He's in haste, more than those who are elder. They have experience. When they hear something, they probably saw it before, and they saw the outcome of it. So they have the knowledge. The knowledge give you this. The knowledge make you see ahead, when people are not seeing what's ahead. So they have the knowledge and the experience also. And the experience also when it comes because of the old age. وَعَجَلَتُ وَسَفَهُ. So they are protected from the hastiness of the young ones, and sometimes the foolishness of those who are young. And many of the ulama, they regret some of the things that they did when they're young, and they keep on learning and so on. وَاسْتَصْحَبَ التَّجْرُبَ. And he would carry with him the experience and the many examples that he saw. فَلَا يَدْخُلْ عَلَيْهِ فِي عِلْمِهِ الشُّبْهَةِ. So he does not have so much shubha or doubtful matters like the same as the one that is young. especially the time that we live in, right? When it's time of fitan, right? And you would find that how the person when he's young is very difficult to have or to acquire the knowledge in such a way compared to someone that is old in age. And he mentioned more and more of this wisdom behind it. So this is basically some of the things, and of course the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam al-Ajurri also has a book, and we had read this book, but this was in Ramadan, Akhlaq al-Ulama, the manners of the ulama. Right? It all means for a person to know who are the ulama. And many details about this, when they talked about how their even livelihood and how they sought the knowledge and how they teach others and how they interact with others. And it's all from, of course, the way of the Prophet ﷺ, and who's the one to get fatwa from and who's the one that is not, and so on. The alim is the one also that would not have any hesitation in saying La adri, I do not know. And for those who would listen a lot to the fatwa, for example, of the kibar ulama like Shaykh Ibn rahimahullah, he would say La adri, I do not know. Right? And now it becomes a shameful thing if a person doesn't. If he says I don't know, you find the question saying he's forcing him to say something. It's sufficient to say I do not know. That's it, right? And a person should be trained to say this. And the ilm is the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to be obedient to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why they have rights on us, for us to learn from them, not to say anything bad about them, not to say that they are ulama of the leaders, or they betrayed the ummah, or some of these evil things that people say. People say these things. Shaykh Ibn rahimahullah, one time he was asked about this, that people say that the ulama are people following their leaders and they're being this and that. And his answer, inshallah will bring one time the answer. It's a very well-mannered answer, subhanAllah. The Shaykh rahimahullah, he was answering the question, says, when they say this, do they have evidence of what they say? Is it just to say anything and that's it? Where do they come up with these things? Right? And people watch television or watch the news, and they start making judgment over the ulama. As simple as that. Right? If a person wants to know the ulama, he should go to them and sit with his knees to learn from their knowledge, and to have the patience and to interact with them, and to be patient, otherwise to protect his tongue and honor and so on. Because of the time, we'll stop here, and I'm not sure if it's benefiting. But when it comes to the names and so on of the ulama, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu said, "Man kana mustannan falyastanna biman qad mat, fa inna al-hayya la tu'un alayhi al-fitna." Whoever wants to follow, he should follow those who passed away, because those who are alive, you can never guarantee that they will be protected from fitna. Right? So this is a statement from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, and he was referring to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, talking to the Tabi'in. So this is a very important concept, of course, and that's why our ulama is from the time of the Prophet ﷺ. If whoever wants to read the books of, like, for example, Imam al-Lalaka'i and others, he mentioned the names from one generation to the other. It's amazing, right? From one generation to the other, the ulama of Ahlul Sunnah, one name after the other, and this is what we need to learn the deen from, and so on. But of course, we need to talk about those who are present in our time, and those who witness what we witness, and those who we need to seek help from, and so on, and their knowledge. Of course, when it comes to the ulama, that there is the consensus among the people of Ahl Sunnah about their knowledge and ilm and wisdom and so on, that we should learn from them and follow their ways, which is the ways of those who are before them and so on. And it's not about individuals. Of course, and again, this is for those who are from different parts of the world, or they don't know these ulama. Again, this is important for us to know. This ummah is one ummah. It's not about my country and your country and this and that. It's about the deen of Islam. And the ulama, these ulama from all over the world, they agreed upon them, the people of the truth. But it doesn't mean again that there's no other ulama. Allah knows best. The whole world is vast, is big. But as long as the principles are being followed. Of course, Shaykh Ibn rahimahullah, and he was, maybe we can talk about his life, rahimahullah. He was imam. And he was mujaddid. He was someone that revived the deen in this life, in this time that we live in. And his journey in this life, and his knowledge, and his statements, and his interactions, and how he dealt with things, and his manners, and His way of knowledge is amazing, of course, and everybody have consensus, about this, about meaning Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah, Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, Shaykh al-Albani, these three mainly, Shaykh ibn Baz, Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen, Shaykh al-Albani rahimahullah, they're, three that people need to learn almost everything. You would have a fatwa and a question and answer about everything that they answered, books that they explained for people to learn the basics of the religion and the mandatory knowledge and so on. And they followed, of course, ونحسبهم كذلك, the way of the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba and the Tabi'een. And it doesn't mean that it's only them. There's many great ulama, but we're being brief in these names, and we don't need to talk about others because there are many, mashallah. From those who are alive, right? And I would mention only two names, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is my witness, and it doesn't mean that that's it, right? But if this is something that I did not say that, except I consulted with the people of knowledge too, but I won't get into the details of that, especially with the fitan that we live in, and whether if someone wants to take that, mashallah, it's up to them. If they don't want to take that, it's up to them. But it's amana, it's a trust, and I would say that, and it's up to the individual, and that's why, inshallah, there won't be questions after the talk. Won't be question and answers, inshallah. So, two, that again, the one that is alive, fitna is never protected, a person is still alive. But two, that these previous ulama, they advised people to, especially these two, and to ask them and to get to see what they're saying in even current situations and so on and so forth. And still, alhamdulillah, they're still alive. One is a Shaykh, without a particular order, a Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan, hafidahullah, and a Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, hafidahumullah. Right? These two. And again, this is to the best of one's knowledge, but this is by asking the people of knowledge, but specifically these two. And again, it doesn't mean that those who are alive today, like the big mashayikh, it's not that we learn from them, we learn from them, and we benefit from them, and we ask them, and so on. But these two names, Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan hafidahullah and Shaykh Abdul Muhsin al-Abbad, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect them, and of course, Lajna Da'ima and others. So, Allahu A'lam, wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.